still quite strong, but I wanted to hear your opinions on it as we head into game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, you just need a bunch of, you just need like good augments to start off with. Maybe like prep, you get your better together still, it's still really good, and then yeah, it's still good. It's just that you need it's more dependent on augments right now.
Definitely. As we're going to be spectating KNP, the first place player from lobby number 1 here, who is ranked number 2 coming into today, has started off with a little bit of a glove choice, so a bit of a safer option, and immediately has 2 pressing options here. A Stabby Tabby and a Bowman by the name of Varus.
Oh, he's running it back. He played Rengar earlier into Fast 9, so... And Glove is good right now in Rengar. You get mix IE, you can do Hodge, you can make any item basically.
Well, you speak about and its options, right? It opens up a lot of options that KMP can go for. You know, I was a little bit worried for KMP last game where, you know, they only had one Rengar where, you know, Deb and all these other Darkfight players, you know, like Slumbers, they had a ton of Rengars on their board, so I was thinking, we're going to have to look for a pivot, you know, something maybe along the lines of a Scale Scorn board, but instead chooses to go for that Fast 9 and ended up working out for him really well.
Yeah, I mean, the saving grace was him having pirate money. Like, he was level 7, 60 gold at 3.5, so that's basically telling him that he's about to go Fast 9 as soon as possible. The Dark Flight's saving him a bunch of HP, Rengar getting triple item, Rengar getting a bunch of stacks, getting the locket with better together spread everywhere. So he just saved a bunch of HP. Oh, and he made that. Oh, and he got another Rengar.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a good start here. I mean, 5 gold starts have been a little bit meh, but 1 item start into a bunch of gold is pretty good. Now, I mean, we've been glossing over it here, but KMP's got some important choices. Better together, an immediate option. But, I mean, Devastating Charge, also no Slouch. Don't think we're going to be seeing a Warrior Crest. The Duelist is going to be the Mirage of choice here. Better together, a pretty safe choice to start off this game.
Yeah, I mean, he already made 10 at 1-4, so he's pretty rich. He already has Astrals as well, so he's chilling.
Absolutely. We move over to Omni's board, who has taken the Cybernetic... which one is this one?
Implants, it's Implants.
Implants, that's it. I remember Cybernetic Shell is the armor, and I can remember Cybernet... Oh, God. No, I can't remember the third one now. Now I'm just making a fool of myself.
Uplink Frosty.
Cybernetic, yeah, that's right. Cybernetic Uplink. There we go. Alright, good. Analysis on point to start off today. So we see a little bit of something different here. You know, Omni has got that 3 Jaden, but Aaron also has not leveled up to level 4 as well as Omni. They are playing entirely stacked benches. They're trying to play very open styles right now rather than just trying to lean into a set game plan.
Yeah, I mean, Omni holding pairs, Aaron making 10, so they have different game plans. Omni wants to hit his pairs, Aaron just wants the econ.
So we move over to Escher, who has picked up the Swift Shot emblem. This is a little bit of something different that we don't really talk about, is that Swift Shot emblem has become a pretty common emblem for a lot of these players, which means that Swift Shot Yone, not something that we really saw in set 7, has actually started to be something that could be quite desirable as a reroll composition here.
Yeah, I think this is one comp that people have not been playing. I think it's actually really, like, it's low-key really good. It's a budget scope weapons, if you may. It just gives your Yone a bunch of attack speed. He'll just stay safe and just act like a Xayah, basically.
And I'm going to have to interrupt you here for a quick second, because I just wanted to say Deb is built different, and that is a incredibly strong Volibear to start off this game. So built different is not something that we've seen a lot in these tournament games. You know, coming into today, when I was doing my research, as I usually do, I was not seeing build different, because it's a very rare augment that usually ends up showing. And I think that is perhaps one of the toughest things to navigate a game around. So, okay, explain it to me, Chaos. How is Deb going to navigate this game into a winning position?
So we haven't seen that much build different at all. Like even in the scrims, I think the scrims that were played yesterday, I think it was offered like maybe 3-4 times, and at 2-1, and everybody skipped it. So I think they're just they're like afraid to play it basically because they know how strong dragons are. They know they're just afraid that maybe if you don't hit the usual board, which is like around playing around Graves and Neela, it's not going to be strong enough.
In that case, then, would you say that there might be a little bit of a potential for a bit of a pivot? So, say, for example, Dev treats this as an early game augment and then ends up pivoting out when they end up hitting that really strong dragon board that they might be looking for later on?
I don't think so. I think he has a bunch of upgrades with the Leona 2 and Skarner 2, and he can just play it. He'll probably end up like 5 streaking anyway, so he could just use that to his advantage and still play build diff, because gold build diff, it's hard to not use gold build diff basically. Maybe in silver, like maybe you can toss it, but it scales now, right? So yeah, so I don't think you can dodge build diff basically.
It's just too much stats to be able to give it up on your units there. Well,
Yeah.
it's a very interesting start to start off this game. We're going to move
Varus
back to
2.
KMP, who has got that Varus 2, and has got
Oh,
pretty
5
much
Astral.
every single Astral upgraded already, and a Nidalee in shop right now. So, from this position here, KMP is going to start making a lot of money very quickly.
I wonder if he actually buys this Nidalee. Oh.
I think it would be hard not to buy the Nidalee here. The question is, do you put in 5 Astral to try to get it? And I mean, realistically, I don't think it's something worth, trying to go for there, simply because it's only 1-star Nidalee. It's not going to prove your rewards from it that much, but it seems like KMP agrees. As we're coming up against TXE, that's 2 Swift Shot emblems that we've seen in this game. TXE also has a...
Okay, go ahead.
TXE has a set with a Swift Shot emblem there. So, okay, look, I am not going to lie, I'm not an expert in Swift Shot emblems. What are these players going to try to go towards for their late game? Because I know we've seen Swift Shot Yone. I can understand that. The idea is you try to hit Yone 3, you just try to play a really strong board there. Is the idea that you're just going to use this as a really strong early game, or are you going to try to find a really strong end game unit to end up carrying with it as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's basically like 2 routes. It's like either the Yone route with the reroll, or you could even you could just tempo it with Xayah and basically put the Swift Shot emblem on your Hecarim, and you get like a full board stun with his ult, basically.
Fair enough. As we're going to move over to Aaron's board, who managed to pick up that Portal Forge, hitting that Infinity Force early on, has got that 3 Cav board in. I must say he's looking quite strong already. Moving into the board of TXE, is going to end up dealing a heavy amount of damage. Love the item slam here, by the way. Choosing to slam that Archangels has got a fairly clear direction, and that's a win streak.
Yeah, I think TXE sold his set 2 for set 1 to make Econ.
Interesting, considering, I mean, TXE's health, it was doing quite well, so this is not based around streak. This is just purely to try to hit 30 before moving into Krugs here. That's a very interesting decision. I guess it really shows the prioritization on trying to hit those later game boards, right? It's not about the early strength in these lobbies here, as everyone is relatively even. I'd say, looking over at Slumber's board, that's pretty much a mirror of the board that we were just watching.
Except this guy has 6 edges.
And 6 Sejuanis.
Yeah. Slumber's looking to either play around like Xayah or Deja with these items. Guild Deja, Guild Xayah, both still really good in the meta. Xayah being a bit more harder to play because it's a lot worse without Shyvana right now.
Yeah, very
a good item so far dropped.
Yeah, very reliant on trying to hit that Shyvana there to enable that 6 Rage Wing. But, Slumbers has already got that Zippy on bench there. I mean, look, I'm not going to say we're going to be seeing a 9 Sejuani game here. But we definitely could, right? Like, it's definitely an option that Slumbers has got.
We definitely want to see a 9 Sejuani game, man.
it's look, realistically, it's not even that big of an upgrade there, but
Oh no, we just
it's
want to see the
cool.
gold Sejuani, yeah.
That's it. I mean, you know what? TFT, at the end of the day, it's a game. We're trying to have fun here. Some of these players, they might be trying to have a little bit less fun and trying to just, win the game, but that's on them.
Yeah, give the viewers what they want.
Exactly. And what do we want to see? We want to see a gold Sejuani. I'm saying that. I'm speaking for the entire chat right now. I can't see chat, so I'm just going to trust that's what you're saying. Good luck, everyone.
We do have word that Nomsy is mage. But looking at the lobby, I think that everybody has been playing AD for the most part. So far no mage boards that we've seen yet.
Yeah, it's a really interesting style that I've seen and trending here is that, most of the AP boards that we end up seeing have mostly been late game focused, right? They've been trying to go towards that dragon style with the Aoshin there and the Aurelion Soul because they're such good AD carries. But when you think about it, there's not really a whole bunch of good AD for a lot of, these level or these 5-cost units. So more often than not, you're incentivized to try to stay 8, try to hit your power spikes with the 4 costs instead. But yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you where these players are trying to head towards, right? They're trying to head towards these really strong late game boards, especially with the AP. And I mean, you've got some decent AP holders, things like your Kai'Sa, all that fun business there as well. So the transition isn't actually too bad if you end up high rolling early.
Yeah, speaking of Swiss Shot Emblem from before, I think TXE, being the player that he has been playing a lot of Darklight, and then he knows that even if you get spat, it doesn't matter. It's a Darklight essence, so he would just roll down on 6 and just hit a bunch of these Darklight units and try to streak with it.
See, this is why TXE is here, and I am in the cast desk right now because I honestly, even after seeing this multiple times in lobbies here, seeing Darkflight Essence be such a critical part of a Darkflight's game plan, it still didn't even comprehend to me that, this is something that TXE would pull off. So great line of play that we've seen, but as we move over to Erend, that's already a Deja with near perfect itemization.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong. This is a pretty strong Deja. Not gonna lie.
Not gonna lie at all. And I mean, honestly, we already know that it's duelist, so we don't need things like the Ginsu, so just stacking this with damage, I suppose the only thing that we're really lacking at this point is essentially the 4th item, Jeweled Gauntlet, and this could be a runaway Guild Deja game for Erend.
Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward to me. I think he could just basically stick to Deja the whole game. I don't know if Aoshin's actually better than this, but Deja with these items is definitely gonna streak till stage 4.
I think the thing to say is it's an option, right?
Yeah.
You could definitely end up trying to go for the Deja for the entire game there. If you start, low rolling a little bit sooner than you'd like. For example, you don't hit your Deja 2 at level 8 there. If you take a bit of a roll down, you're pressured into it. But, I mean, knowing this, it's still an incredibly strong board. The thing I wanted to ask you, I'm going to put this on you because you asked, how important is the guild? Because we haven't seen a lot of Mirage boards popping up. It's been mostly focused around, the Zippies and all that fun business for Frontline to really enable this Deja. So, going into a Deja game, what would you expect to see from Erend?
So the common board we see is like Guild Deja right now. Mm-hmm. So the reason why it's good is just that you have Zippy most of the time hitting the backline, so chunking them from a bit of HP and then Deja just finishing them off. So that's why it's really annoying to deal with for most backline carries, and that's why the Guild Deja has been so annoying recently.
Yeah, because Deja does have that inherent weakness, right, where, if, for example, if you're not playing Spell Sword, the big
she can't finish
blasts,
off the units, basically.
Yeah, the Wind Blast just doesn't do enough damage to be able to chunk them out. It'll get through the majority of the health bar, but Ziffy ends up, finding those select targets being based around the maximum health, and considering that Deja's auto attacks also end up hurting a lot, it means that it's pretty much a perfect combination, right? As we move over to KMP's board, who has got that 5 Astral and has been taking a little bit of an aggressive role here. Look at these items. These are pretty much perfect late game dragon items, and I think that's the direction that KMP wants to go this game as well.
Yeah, I mean, looking like good Deja items as well if he manages to hit a Deja. There's Zippy in the shop if he wants.
Yeah, it's definitely a choice, and it's not going to cost any money either, you know, considering the fact that PvP is at 26 gold right now, not trying to hit that threshold, but might be considering, you know, selling off a few units on bench just to be able to make that gold there, and that's exactly what it's going to do, going up to that 30, which is kind of critical considering that, you know, if you end up taking a loss here, you're kind of in a dire situation gold-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I say it again. The Nomzi is mage, so maybe he has that out with mage Nomzi as well.
So, in that situation there, would you say that, you know, choosing to not stay level 6, you know, trying to hit that Nomzi 2 and then trying to go for a more aggressive route, you know, going for that, over going level 7 was the correct choice then?
I think level 7's fine. I think the meta has been a lot more aggressive recently. Everybody's usually like at least half the lobby is at level 7 at after stage 3 carousel. So I think it's probably fine for him to go level 7 and start rolling.
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk about players that are level 7 right now. We've got Fred, who is level 7 up against Dev's board, and the build different too has been working out a treat for them as well. Up at the top of the lobby here at 90 health, but seems like that's going to be changing quite rapidly here, coming up against the board of Fred, who has got that Volibear 1 with a Bloodthirster, as well
Double
as
cyber implants.
the double cyber implants as well, doing God's work.
Yeah, I mean the volley one is just not strong enough right now. He has to find it like a new carry right now, basically.
That's it. Escher, on the other hand, you know, instead of going for the Swift Shot route, has got 4 warriors in and is in a prime position to start re-rolling as well. Has got 4 Yones, so is going to be a little bit slow ending up hitting that Yone 3, but I don't think we'll see a big roll down considering the fact that they're already at 80 health. It seems, wow, a 5th Yone. It seems like they're in a really good spot to just slow roll through the majority of this game.
Oh, I think since he's at 3 loss, he might just roll it down pretty hard to get this Yone 3, to be honest.
I don't know, it feels like in this position here...
He is pretty healthy though.
Yeah,
he is pretty healthy.
He's taken 3 loss short, but those would be 3 really good losses, right? I don't think the pressure is really on him to try to end up, you know, forcing out the Yones, especially when they're being a little bit temperamental here, not showing up in the shop. I think...
Yeah, he has 6 now.
Yeah, you just gotta wait it out, right?
Yeah, well, you wait 1 and then you see what happens. Oh, he does have Tiny Titans as well, so that's why he's so high.
Okay, well, he's at a theoretical 50 health then, so perhaps his situation would have been a little bit more dire.
If he didn't have Tiny Titans, he would be rolling here, basically.
That's it. But knowing that, he's got a little bit more time, but all things considered, it seems like the strength of the lobby is starting to match this board strength as well, so Escher might start to feel the pressure here, and if we weren't rolling down on 4-1, I'd say that now is probably the time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if he doesn't start rolling down, he's gonna lose a lot of HP, and it's not gonna be good for him.
But hold on here, Chaos. We've got one final augment that we need to be picking out: a Mirage Quest, a Portable Forge, or a Celestial Blessing. My eyes are going towards the Celestial Blessing here as a really good option, but, you know, that's it. That's exactly what it is going to pick up here. See, do they end up going past that 50 gold threshold? It seems like the big roll down is coming through now.
Yeah, I think it's about time to roll 2 off.
7 Yones. Does he end up hitting?
1
That's
off.
1 more Yone. And it gets inching closer and closer here. But this is the big one. Can you find the last Yone? It will be found, and that is massive for Escher here. You know, a lot of these game plans, if you don't end up hitting, you're going to take such bad losses. But this is finally the point in which Escher is going to start to stabilize. Except up against TXE. TXE looking awful strong, though.
This is the Zephyr.
Critical for him, but it seems like the Stabby Tabby is not finding the critical targets here. The Yone managing to cut straight through Rengar, and it seems like there's only Swain left over, all things considered. Swain really strong against targets with a lot of burst, but Yone is perhaps one of the only units in the game with a huge amount of sustained damage, so it seems like Escher may be the perfect hard counter to TXE already finds themselves down at 27 health already.
Yeah, TXT not looking in a good spot right now. Rengar items not that good.
Yeah, only one
Looking for a
Rengar.
Swain too.
Only one Rengar item here, and it's a Ginsu's. And Ginsu's is not what you really want to be hitting on your Rengar. You know, you want damage.
Yeah, you want
a
that
lot of
fat AD.
Yeah, you want the infinity edges. You know, you want things like Runaans to be able to spread out the damage. Getting stuck on one target here is not exactly what this Rengar wants to be doing. It wants to be leaping around the field. So, yeah, it's kind of a dire straits for TXE right about now. We'll see whether they can claw their way back into this game.
I think both future side players were too busy rolling down and not using their future side. They both just missed everything.
Classic there. And I mean, you want to talk about giving away. We've got another egg giveaway in chat here, !egg, to get yourself entered into the giveaway there. Be sure to type that in nice and quick as we move into Carousel now. TXE going to be first pick there. I kind of like this sword on the Zoe.
He definitely wants the BF.
That's it, just getting that raw damage output, so important for that Rengar board. You know, considering that, I mean, you know, the Darkflight Essence does do quite a bit for it, but overall you just can't make up for the lack of damage, you know, if you don't have that. All the other players finishing up there. I mean, Aaron being able to pick up that Bard with the tier, always just a nice little consolation prize. We're going to move over to Slumbers, who's hit double Ao-Shin at level 7. But really important to note here as well is that this is a guild board that's had a Bard in, because that is a 6% legendary odd there. So while it is still definitely an amazing high roll, it's not as high roll as you think it is already.
If he hits this Ao-Shin too, he's gonna be so strong. He's already at 73 HP, so...
Yeah, and I mean, you know, Guild Ao-Shin is one of those compositions that we didn't end up talking about, but pretty much Guild with any big dragon there ends up working out really well for the player that is playing it. So, I mean, looking to be like, you know, is probably going to end up foregoing this Terror, because that's another option that they've got here, and instead just trying to play this Ao-Shin and end up doing a ton of damage.
Yeah, Terra doesn't really do as much damage, especially with these items that Slumbers has. So he's probably gonna stick to this Ao-Shin to the end of the game.
And there you go. I mean, you know, it's trying its best here. Raining Fire ends up clutching out the victory against Omni there. Looked to be like a fairly, well, losing board state, but instead manages to clutch it home. Finds another Terror. I mean, look at this rate. That's just the same Terror that they're hitting. Let's be real. We all know it is when you sell one off, you get another one back. But let's talk about the board that we've got in front of us here. Fred has chosen to go for the Siphon board. But, Chaos, can you... I want to play a bit of where's Siphon here, because
where's the Siphon?
I'm so bad at just trying to... Look, I always suck at these books here, but can you find where the Siphon is?
Yeah, I think it's on Omni's board. I don't know.
Oh, that's not where it's supposed to be at all. Oh, well, I mean, you know, for Fred at least, for Omni, I'm sure he's very happy with it. But as we see here, the board still ends up holding out fairly well. You know, it's got 7 Jaden right about now, so, you know, up against... Yeah, Deb's board, which has only got a Graves 1 as a carry, is not going to be doing terribly well as the Pantheon tears through everything. But it's definitely going to want to hit that Siphon sooner rather than later, especially with these augments. It's so strong.
Yeah, I mean, Deb not hitting Graves 2, not hitting Mila 2, it's just hard to play the game at that point.
Does get hard to play the game at that point as we move in towards the Chaos Treasure Dragon here. A lot of options opening up. You know, a Mystic Emblem, a Hand of Justice here. Pretty good itemization for the dual dragon carry that you can end up rocking. And you look at Fred's board here, there's not a lot of completed itemization, you know. Ends up taking, I'd say, the really safe route. And there's the Siphon.
Finally finds the Siphon.
The big finish to the composition here.
Let's see what he drops.
ends up dropping out the Gnar there, taking out that shapeshifter. You know, missing out on the Gnar too, not really that big of a deal. It seems like this is pretty much where you want to be at. The last slot ends up being fairly flexible, I find, you know, whether you want to end up playing, say, a Jace just as a really good drain tank for the most part. It seems to be the option that Fred is going to be going for. Has a lot of good choices in the shop though. Ends up buying up another Xiaoyu, but has just got a board full of 1-stars except for this critical Pantheon.
Yeah, I mean he's playing the Soraka to save HP, right? He's already at 13. Maybe if he heals up to 15, he's not dead. Um, that's probably what he's thinking about. Everybody making Zephyrs this game.
It's in damage control mode for Fred right about now, coming up against the board of Escher. We'll have to see whether this Soraka can end up doing enough to be able to save it. Bouncy Castle coming through from the Xiaoyu onto this good old Yone, but the damage is just way too much, too consistent, and the Fred will take a loss here, but is not going to be out quite yet. One life, one opportunity. Well, looks like looking over at the side here, Deb, you know, one of our players that we were spectating before had that Graves one, is going to be going out underneath. A little bit of an unfortunate position to end up finding yourself in, but, I mean, unfortunate positions, we're seeing one right now. Just look at this. No 2-star dragon, and it seems like the rest of the lobby isn't even contesting them either. Such a tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, Omni is playing it, I'm pretty sure.
Was Omni playing? Omni was playing just the Siphon there, not the full board though, right?
Yeah. Oh, we can see it now.
Okay, I guess I'm wrong.
Even Omni not hitting.
Even Omni not hitting. It seems like everyone's trying to pull together the board. It seems like the other casters there trying to will it into existence simply, you know, through sheer force of will. We've seen
everybody get their praises in the chat.
That's it, 2 Jade Siphon players coming through right about now. It seems like the prages will not be enough as Alshin rains down thunder. Siphon picking up a lot of stacks though, but massive damage about to be coming through. Can this Alshin cast? No, it's not going to come through. Aaron takes another loss there. Fred staying alive.
Fred won.
That's it. Fred's still alive here. Escher also on a bit of a win streak right about now, has finally hit the board. Seems like Escher in a fairly good position to go 8 this game. Might not have enough gold to go 9 considering the pace of this lobby. And I worry for Escher that, you know, if other players end up hitting some of these really strong dragon boards late game, that they may find themselves getting outpaced.
Yeah, I think his board's not gonna get any stronger, even at 8. There's like maybe a couple upgrades, so he is gonna fall behind in the later stages of the game.
So in Escher's position here, you probably have to play for, you know, all the positioning things, you know. I mean, I love Escher's itemization choice. Things like the Shroud, things like the Zephyr, you know, things that allow you to get these marginal edges over other players that can end up swinging fights. That's exactly what he needs to try to, you know, bring home extra placements that otherwise you'd miss out on.
Yeah, exactly.
A big Alshin cast coming through. The Zhonya's almost managing to clutch it home with that Zhonya's on that Alshin. That's going to be a terror later on in the game. KNP falls down to 3 health. And Fred with the Soraka has managed to live at 1 health. Defying death. Defying death once more. It truly is a Soraka diff at this point, isn't it? And KNP's level 9.
Let's just hope it's enough. Let's just hope it's enough.
I mean, it's scary because as we saw in Fred's position before, they only had a Shiryu and a Siphon 1. Pretty much their entire board was unupgraded, so they have to hit now going into stage 5-5.
Yeah, this lobby is not looking particularly strong compared to last lobby where we saw like already 2-star dragons at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the Shimmer item this time around was that Draven Zax, which isn't, you know, not exactly as strong as the Goldmancer Staff, I'd argue, especially if you don't end up finding it terribly early, but it's still, like, fairly decent, but just hasn't really accelerated the pace of the gameplay. KMP sells off that Terra 2 potential to try to hit that Yasuo, has got a good old stacked Alshin. Have to see whether it's going to be enough, you know, is going to end up putting the Infinity Edge onto that
Oh,
Yasuo, instead of going to put it onto the Ao Shin there. Fairly interesting choice if I say so, but probably better off considering the itemization choice that you'd have to spread around there, right?
yeah, Slumber's hitting Aoshin too, so it's gonna be
Oh.
really hard to beat this. Maybe Yasuo can execute it.
And the Zippy is so annoying, hitting the Ao Shin as well. And it seems
Almost
like KMP just doesn't have enough left in him. Fred, on the other side of the board here, has it in him though. Manages to, once again, heal up just that little bit more, as we see, like, Fred was in such a dire spot. They're slowly managing to claw positions away from
He
other
hits
players.
the Shioyu too.
And that's a massive hit, especially for this board. You know, going forward, I was going to say Fred might be a little bit lacking, especially into some of those Dragon boards, but Shioyu 2 is a massive upgrade combined with that Pantheon, and only is really lacking a Siphon or two here just to be able to, you know, find themselves in the top 4.
Yeah, I don't think Fred's board's gonna get any better than this. This is basically do or die, basically.
Do or die indeed, coming up against the board of Omni, who is playing that Jade Siphon board as well, which I would argue probably favors Omni more than anything else. I tend to prefer an itemized Siphon here, but I mean, looking at Fred's items on the shield,
It's gonna be
it's
really
looking
close.
really strong. Big bite comes down onto the Shioyu here, but it seems like the Siphon has found its target, is going to start knocking up the Shio, going to knock up the Siphon, and manages to escape away from the Shioyu. The Shioyu is trying its best to try to find damage onto the targets, but the consistent CC coming through to onto it, and it seems like the Siphon is going to be just enough. Fred goes down in 6th, TXC out in 5th there. We have our top 4.
It's just not even close. Omni is just way too strong right now.
Yeah, look at those items on that Siphon there as well. You know, BT a mainstay, especially considering that, you know, healing is really good on both of these carries. But, I mean, let's talk about augments here. We were saying that Fred had some really good augments, but I would argue Omni's in a even better spot with that cybernetic shell, with the Big Friend 2 as well, reducing that damage. It's hard to compete.
Yeah, I mean, Big Friend 2 in this comp is actually really strong because you can basically Big Friend your whole board.
That's it. Most of the board is in that front line already. That's why augments such as, you know, Knife's Edge is so strong here. And honestly, going forward for Omni, I'd say that they could probably look to try to go 9 instead of, you know, trying to hit that Shiryu 2. It'll come naturally now that there's less people contesting you.
Yeah, I mean, Shioyu 2, it's not much of a spike. Maybe getting in a Yasuo is probably better.
Would you say that's a big spike though?
It's pretty even, I think.
I mean, a Shyvana too, pretty big spike, right?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron... Oh.
Aaron coming up against the
Oh,
board.
Asher missing
here.
the Zephyr.
And that's kind of a big Zephyr miss as well, you know, this is kind of going to end up swinging the fight. Big Shyvana cast coming through as well. You know, the Yone is managing to stack up a ton of damage, getting stuck on that Zippy, and you can just see the difference in these fights, especially when the Ao Shin goes untouched. Double Archangels with a Hand of Justice. It's got that healing, and it's got a ton of damage as well. But I'd say the thing that I'd focus on here is less the damage that's on it, it's more the time that the other dragons buy for you so that you can get off that massive cast, right?
Yeah, basically, once the Aoshin casts, it's just game over. So, he just has to stall.
It's interesting as well, the dynamic where all of the dragons end up working out for that really well, you know, where all the dragons are pretty much there to buy time, but they're also individual threats on their lonesome. You know, Terra does end up doing a ton of damage as well as the Shyvana. It just so happens that there's just a ticking time bomb in the back line, just waiting to tear apart your opponent's entire board. Speaking of ticking time bombs as well, Slumbers has positioned their Ao Shin over on the other side, dodging out on the strap, but walks straight into a Zephyr. Genius by Escher, or just absolutely insane, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Slumbers is trying to dodge the Shroud and end up getting caught by the Zephyr. I mean, at least the Aoshin does have Zhonya's, so it'll pretty much guarantee the cast.
Guarantee the cast, but the damage isn't really there, you know, unless in these other dragon compositions where, you know, you've got the time to be bought for you here. There's not a ton of time for Slumbers, and the damage as well. There's only a Gunblade for damage. It's not going to be dishing out a ton of damage, not these entire board wipes like we were seeing before. But Erend is out in 4th.
Yeah, Aaron just losing to Omni. I think Omni is just like probably just gonna win the game, to be honest. Unless Slumbers can manage to get better items on his Aoshin somehow. Like the Swift Shot out, I guess, but like I think Omni's gonna win this lobby.
That's crazy. We were seeing, we were talking about Aaron's board being so strong, the Dragon board being the ultimate late game, and it just ended up being beaten by a 7 Jade with Siphon board. No big deal, right?
Yeah, Omni not even running Pantheon right now, so only having 3 Whisper.
Yeah, I mean, the difference in the Jade value, right, is like going from 5 to 7 might not seem like a lot, but, I mean, the extra Jade statue does actually play a large part in going up against boards like Aoshin, where there's just more targets to try to find, which is just less lightning that's going onto your main carries, which means that Omni's board stacks up incredibly well going into the Aoshin boards.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that even more Jades just make Aoshin just hit the Jades and just waste his cast, and you just can't kill anything.
That's just it. Going into some of the final carousels, Escher out in 3rd. The Swift Shot Yone not managing to find him the birthday win that he needs. We're going to be finding Omni going up to level 9 as well. Picking up that Warmogs, potentially putting it onto that Shi Ou, and is just finishing up the board here with the stock standard Pantheon. 7 Jade, 4 Whisper, up against a stacked board from Slumbers here. That Guild Aoshin is going to try and play a big part in trying to stop what Omni has got going on, but it's looking dire for Slumbers.
Yeah, the fight went really poorly last fight, so I'm pretty sure Omni has it in the bag right now.
Let's get stuck into it here. Aoshin managing to stack up quickly. Walks forward, however, which is detrimental. Gets chomped there, immediately procs the Zonias. Not good for Slumbers there at all. The Swift Shot managing to buy enough time to be able to get that first cast off, but the board is still alive and well. The Siphon managing to deal massive damage. The Aoshin is gone, and that would be Omni taking home game number 2 with that Jade Siphon board.
Well played by Omni. Very well played.
Really well played. We were talking a little bit about the Jade